Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasia podcast. My name is Livin2K and today we will be discussing who is the best Fortnite player of 2025. Amongst other things, we'll be talking about who has been the best player in EU, who's been the best player in NA, who's been the breakout player of the year, who's been the coach of the year. All these things that you guys want to know about competitive Fortnite and more. And I have three lovely guests to take us through it today. On my right-hand side, we have the man with all the analytics, all the stats, the man who is the cause of you qualifying or not qualifying for a tournament every week. Kinch Analytics is joining us on the show once again. Welcome back, Kinch.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's good to have you back, man. People always asking for Kinch on the show. Everybody's new favorite ginger is sat below me today. Teddy, back on the show. Welcome back, Teddy.
Yeah, I still can't find Coach Harry, so you'll have to settle for me, everybody.
Just have to do. It's fine. We love the Christmas decorations you got going on there as well.
Of course.
And to close out the panel for today, a returning guest, my favorite guest we have on the show, and someone who will offer us a different perspective today. I think today we have a great panel in terms of just the different perspectives. We have the one and only Harry, or as you know him, Veno, joining us today. Legend of the game, Veno. Good to have you back, bro.
Yeah, I'll have to be. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone loves my takes and wants to hear my takes.
Yeah, we do. We do. You know what? Let's just jump right into it, right? Everybody wants to know who has been the player of the year. For the people who don't know, the Comp Awards is taking place this month. We will be hosting the awards show on FNtasia in about 2 weeks on the 22nd of December. You'll be able to watch that episode where we will reveal the winners of all these awards. Essentially, for the people who don't know, there is a panel of people from the Fortnite community who vote on and nominate people for competitive awards. I'm part of that panel. Kinch is part of that panel. Teddy is part of that panel. And a bunch of other people from the community who you'll recognize are part of said panel. We also have a bunch of community awards where, people from the community will be able to vote on who they think should win. So some of those community awards are actually available to be voted for now. So there'll be a link in the description where you can go and vote. But things like Community Support Award, Creative of the Year, Female Content Creator of the Year, Male Content Creator of the Year, etc., etc., etc. And we're going to go through all of them, but we're going to start with the one that everybody loves to debate on. And one I'm very interested to hear all of your perspectives on, because I was quite torn on this award in some ways and not so torn in others. So we will get started with the Player of the Year. The nominees for the Player of the Year are Vanya, Peterbot, Swizzy, and Queasy. Now, when we look at the nominees for these awards, I'm seeing some I'm seeing some facial expressions. So we're gonna go straight to my friend Veno here. What do you make of the nominees here so far?
I don't know, it's a hard one because not every single one of them didn't really have like an amazing year. Aside from Vanya, those three didn't have like an out-and-out year.
Okay, Teddy, do you share a similar perspective? Do you feel like there is, a lack of a standout, clear, obvious choice?
So if you're a Peterbot deserves this award person, there's a huge flaw with that thinking, which is he was Player of the Year last year, and he had, I would say, a much worse year this year. So it's really by comparison. So it's really hard to reward, basically going from an 11 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. That's a really hard thing to reward. So I've really struggled with who to pick for this one. Because to Venner's point, nobody really did stand out in a huge way. There was a lot of parity on EU, and then obviously EU very much outperformed NA this year.
Kinch, you obviously have a lot of access to numbers that the average Joe may not see, and I know from us working on the FNCS broadcast, there's a lot of numbers we will be looking at all throughout the year. From a number standpoint, do you feel like that is the case, that there isn't a clear standpoint? When you look at what's important to you when considering Player of the Year, do you feel like the numbers suggest it actually is quite even, or is there a different sort of thing that the numbers are telling us here?
I think the numbers tell us that these four are the correct nominees. Unfortunately, what they don't tell us is which of the statistics is the most important, because
Right.
there's no correct answer to that, really.
Right.
Vanya was the most consistently successful player across the year. Peterbot was probably, you could say, is the most skilled all-round player. Swizzy has been the best fragger statistically across the year, and Queasy IGL'd them in the biggest moment to the biggest title of the year. So it's like, which one do you want to pick? Tough. Really tough.
Interesting. Okay, so with that being said, then, right? You mentioned there's no clear, like, it comes down to like what's important to you, right? So what is important to you, Kinch? What is the one that, like, what's the either the narrative or the statistic that, like, you look at this year specifically and you go, that really starts to push it over the edge for me.
Personally, I can't pick Peterbot because his globals placement is too low. I think if he had come in the top 5, then we can still consider him. But yeah, it kind of fell apart there for him. So you need some sort of good globals placement, because clearly that's the most important moment of the year, and the other 3 had that. Then I think I would personally rule out Queasy, purely because, statistically as an IGL, you're basically just looking to win tournaments, right?
Right.
That's how you prove you're a great IGL. He only won one tournament. Well, obviously he won some other smaller ones, but didn't win the other FNCS majors. So it's again tough to say that he did a great job throughout the year, even though you could claim he was the biggest factor in them winning globals, maybe. So then, for me, yeah, it comes down to Vanya and Swizzy, and I sway on the side of Swizzy personally.
Oh, you can I did not think that's where you're going with it. You can't just leave it there now. Why do you switch to Swizzy? What's the? I thought you were going to say Vanya then, when you're setting it up. But okay.
It's just like, you win globals compared to second in globals. I know Vanya had slightly better placements across the majors, but yeah, each to their own. And I picked the globals winner, I guess.
Can I ask Mr. Harry P a question?
Go on.
What do you think was the hardest lobby that you played in this year?
I would have said third season grand finals. Third season. It's never globals. It's never globals. It's not been any year. It's never been globals. It was one of the easier ones.
We always have this discussion each year because, being the EU bias podcast we always make the case that, like, well, globals is going to be easier for the EU players because there's more shitters in the lobby. There's less EU players in the lobby, therefore it's an easier lobby. That's the argument we always make.
The thing about globals is, like, okay, so there are worse players and there are people who are more nervous, but the only thing about globals is that you don't really know what's happening around you. That's the only real thing. Like, it's hard to know what's happening. Whereas if you go into a grand finals, people are doing the same things they've done the whole season, which you can
Right.
against.
Right.
I think for this list, for example, the third season, the reason it was hardest is because Surge was incredibly high, just incredibly high. Like, even with the second season where I didn't really have a drop spot, like, that wasn't really that difficult. It's just the third season, Surge was incredibly high. You had to play really perfect Fortnite, otherwise you really got punished. But when it comes down to the list, I think Queasy had 4th, 5th, 7th this year, and then first at globals. So I think I'm going to have to rule them out on this one. Same for Swizzy, I'm going to have to rule them out. They have to be better during the year. They had Demon's Domain Uncon after first day, and they really struggled because they hadn't really played any Uncon. They'd only played Con to prepare. Pete had second, first, and then, I don't know, like 15th or 18th.
Yeah.
So really, this list is between Pete and Vanyak.
Do we give any value to the Pro-Am win? It was very fun, very highly viewed.
I don't think I'm going to involve it just in this one. If we did involve Pro-Am, maybe it's a bit further up. But no, I think for me, Vanya takes this. Just because, I don't know, normally you don't pick an IGL. If Swizzy had the placements Vanya had, we would say Swizzy, easily. The only reason we're not saying Vanyak is because he's an IGL. The placements are better. Would he come third, first, second?
Yeah.
Like if he was fragging, there'd be no conversation now.
Well, this is why I want to step in here now, because this is where I felt conflicted as part of the nomination process. And I wish we had had more discussions about this, given a sneak peek in behind the nomination, because there wasn't much of a conversation behind this, and I wish there was. I understand why Vanya has been getting a lot of the credit, or at least I felt I understood, right? They've had the most consistent results of anyone this year in terms of just top level. Obviously, second at the biggest one is, unfortunate, but across all majors and globals, they were the most consistent. He is the IGL of a team who is very height dominant. There is a bias in Fortnite, I think, around teams that are height dominant. I feel like when you're a height dominant team, everyone always looks at the IGL as like, you almost get more props as an IGL for being like, we're just going to play height no matter what. Whether that's fair or not, that just seems to be the trend. You see it with Queasy, you've seen it with Aqua in the past, other people in NA as well are like that, with people like Zayton, whatever. And their team that isn't like completely fragging out, right? Like they're not getting a bunch of high limb games, which I think is why a lot of people go, they're low elimination type of team and they're being consistent. The IGL has to get the most props. I understand that perspective. However, I feel like the narrative throughout the year, I feel like that's become the narrative, like now that we're discussing the year as an overview. Throughout the year, I always felt like people were giving way more props to Pixie and Marius. Not necessarily directly for the success of the team, but just like generally speaking. And so like when you say there, Venno, like, yeah, if there was a fragger with these placements, we'd all be going there to player of the year. There is a fragger with these placements, like Pixie and Marius had those placements. They had great moments. There were moments throughout the year where they were given more success more plaudits for the success of their team, right? I forgot what major it was specifically, but I remember there was one major where like people were literally voting Marius as the MVP. There was plenty of moments throughout this year when conversations in EU were had about who's the best player. Everybody was going Pixie. I remember I DM'd you at one point this year because I think I'd gone on holiday, and I remember I came back and I saw a thread where people were talking about who's the best player in EU right now, and everybody was going Pixie. And I remember messaging you and I was like, I've been away for a couple of weeks. Like, is Pixie just the best right now? And I remember you were like, it's a bit even in EU, but you'd have to say he's the best right now. And so I look at that and I go, is it almost unfair that you can't nominate everybody, right? Not everybody. I agree. It's weird. I agree with Kinchin that like the 4 here, I think are fair 4, but is it almost unfair that like,
I do
some of his teammates aren't there?
He deserves the nomination over them too.
Over them too? What would give you the? What would give him the edge for you?
They're all pretty quiet people, so they don't really talk themselves up, But I'd say, like, they had a very structured game plan, because the thing is, if you don't, anytime they won on high ground, their game was dudded. They were very one-dimensional, but they perfected that one-dimensionality or whatever. Right? So they were always on height, always playing for that first moving height, and it works out for them. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, like, you were talking there, I was kind of leaning a bit more towards Pete, because to be honest, like, we can't take away from the fact that he was triple con. Like, they were triple con. Sometimes that's just the way globals goes down. You go in and you triple con. By teams from other regions. Second, first, then to triple con.
Yeah. It's interesting because I say all of what I said to then say I voted Pete. I felt like Pete was the player of the year because, yes, it was a less impressive year than last year, but all throughout the year, when you asked the question who was the best player in Fortnite, the answer was still Peterbot for the most part in every single season. And in NA, they performed incredibly well, right? Second, first, even that second place, his individual level was some of the best we've ever seen of Pete still. And so, yes, the Global's performance was a dud, which hurts, but I give them somewhat a bit of benefit of the doubt off of TripleCon. Even then, outside of that, like, it still does hurt them a bit. But I was similar to you, Venno, where like I saw it as between Vanya and Peterbot, and I just feel like I think I got to the point in my head where I sure you might say Vanya is the most deserving of his team, but I feel like it's not as clear cut as people are making it out to be, which then just pushes me more towards Peterbot. Like it's the reason why I made a tweet a couple weeks ago where I actually just did like a poll, and I was like, who's been the best player on this team all year? Between Vanya, Pixie, and Marius. And what I wanted to get out of that poll, I didn't say why I was in the poll, but what I wanted to get out of that poll is I was looking, unless it's the result is just like 90% Vanya and nobody else is voting the other two, then it feels weird to me that we're just like the push Vanya's getting for the individual awards seems weird to me, because clearly the average person watching can't clearly decipher that he is the most valuable part of this team. Which then pushes just me to want to vote for Peterbot for this award.
I'm gonna vote for Pete, but I do have to say Vanya's gonna win. But I'm gonna vote for Pete.
I voted for Pete as well for similar reasons. Like, he won the most majors of any of these players this year. He won loud, right, and in kind of epic fashion. And the cases for the other three players were just too bunched together. And maybe it's just because NA is weaker, and that's kind of like the big, and plus globals, that's like the big issue with Peterbot's case. It was just, his case was way more unique than the other three. So I did end up voting for Peterbot, even though I was disappointed to vote for someone who was like worse year over year for player of the year. Right? I don't know, that just part of that to me feels wrong too. But I did end up voting for Peterbot.
I think for me, I rationalized that in my head by just going, yes, it was a worse year, but it was worse by comparison to the best year in Fortnite history.
We just say it was worse. It wasn't really worse. It's just like when you see the stats he was dropping.
Well, yeah, like
he has the same placement. Aside from globals, of course, he has the same placement.
Right. Like well, I think what makes it worse is like what you're saying, right? The momentum of the year for Peterbot last year was like second into first, right? Whereas like this year was second, first, and then not like it didn't quite have, there's not the same strong narrative around it. I think what helped me though is forget what he did last year. Imagine last year didn't exist and you just looked at the year Peterbot had this year. Like, where would that stack up all time? Like, in comparison to like years people have had, and it's still just one of the best years someone's had. Like, dominating your region all year, and you're just unlucky to get triple con that land. Like, people would still look on it way more favorably, I feel. One thing I do want to actually touch on before we move on from Player of the Year. So we have 3 of us have said Peterbot. Kinch has said he would vote for Swizzy. I want to know from you, Kinch, what do you think needs to change? Because as you explained your perspective on why you're voting for Swizzy, I do think it makes a lot of sense, right? I think there's something compelling about like the team that wins the biggest event of the year, the like best individual player from that team, and the person who has, because Swizzy has also just been in that conversation, and we'll get to it later, but when you've had that conversation of best player in EU all year, Swizzy's been in that conversation all year. He's delivered great performances in major finals, even if his team underperformed at times in those finals. What needs to change from a narrative perspective for people to maybe view globals like almost higher, right? Like we had this conversation on FNtasia last year with Reese and Boop, and Harry was here back when Harry used to be here. And we had the conversation of like, globals almost doesn't get valued as much as you would think it does when people are having conversations about the game. And like, why is that? Why do you think that is? And what needs to change for that to happen?
I'm not sure anything needs to change. I think, people are sensible in the fact that they know that one performance doesn't define how good you are. So it wouldn't be sensible if you just said that guy won globals and he was top of the damage, so therefore he's player of the year. Like, that would be nonsense. You definitely have to look at the year as a whole, and that's an important part of these awards. I wouldn't say that people are undervaluing globals if they're not voting for Swizzy. I think it's more that maybe they don't recognize his greatness over the year, because they didn't have the best placements in the major. But statistically he was a brilliant Fraggle all year, and
Right.
I'm not going to throw Queasy under the bus here, but if you're a great fragger and you come seventh, then it's not always the fragger's fault, right?
Right.
Um, yeah,
Okay, that's fair. I think I was trying to bait you into like answering from the perspective of like, is there almost what we said at the start of the conversation? Like, I feel like the way the Fortnite ecosystem is, at least for the past couple of years, and maybe this will change because I know we're getting a bunch more lands next year, or whatever, right? Like, globals is the big event of the year. I think I see it as like, if it was to stay like this, global should be the most competitive and like the biggest indicator of like who is the best, and so there should be more weight put into that if everything in our ecosystem is ideal. I think the way our ecosystem currently is, it is smart not to put that much stock into globals, because it isn't that, right? When you have players like Vanya going, well, it's not even the hardest lobby I played in this year, right? And that's like honest, and a lot of people would agree with that. It's like, so how do we change that? But
Plus,
you're too sensible to take my bait.
Plus, this is really important. You say, "Are you ready?" before game 12. If you said it before game 1, it could have been a completely different outcome.
True.
Right? Peterbot could have been ready. Venno could have been ready. Right? Like it's just,
that's
we can't underrate that. Are there any intangibles that you guys look at, like outside of performance, statistics, average placement?
Like player of the year?
Yeah, for player of the year.
I think for IGLs, you have to try and consider intangibles because they don't appear on the stats much, right? IGL-wise.
I think that's a big part of why Queasy's here.
Sorry, go.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, it's difficult, I think, for a spectator to judge the value of an IGL. I would almost trust the players who have played with the IGLs through the year to be able to judge who's the better IGL, rather than trying to just spectate it and look at their placements. Because so much stuff that IGLs do is just hidden and nobody sees it.
I agree.
I would say Vanya was the better IGL this year. I think that's very clear cut. But I think it's also like, it's a hard thing because where Fortnite was at this last year. Obviously now we're going into this new year and we're changing Surge and there's going to be a lot of changes. But it's hard to like be like, okay, this guy had an insane, insane theory, VOD, like whatever, like plan, right? And Vanya just traded Surge all 3 seasons. I'm not going to take that away from him, but like,
right.
Queasy obviously is better at IGL all time, but Vanya IGL better this year. But I can't say he is a better IGL. But yeah, he was a better IGL this year.
That is one thing I had forgotten, that when we were doing the whole nomination process, I did tank points in my mind from like the IGLs from that angle. And I think that conversation will actually be a bit more prevalent for another award that we'll get to. So I'll save my points there. But yeah, that is definitely something to keep a thread on.
Lastly, there's like an entertainment factor with like Peter and Queasy, maybe more so than the other two. Is that a factor at all to the three of you?
Narrative, the story. Like, I think, I didn't actually vote for Queasy. Even in like my nominations, like I think we submit like 3 or 4 people. Like Queasy wasn't one of the people I put on there, but like Queasy, like there's something that feels right about like Queasy finally getting like a player of the year after winning Globe. Like I mean, like from a narrative perspective, like that's a great story to tell.
Yeah,
which is why like I don't hate the idea, of him being there. But
it's like when Marty Scorsese won the Oscar for The Departed. It's like not close to his best movie, but
right. But
it's like a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need like a lifetime achievement or like a Hall of Fame or something. Then we can put these people in.
We do, because there are a lot of people I think year to year that don't get awarded anything, but it's like it would feel right to give them something. All right, we're gonna vote for Peterbot as our consensus. We had a 3-1 vote for Peterbot. Did we sway you at all, Kinch, in our conversations?
Not particularly in who I'd vote for.
Okay.
But as I said when I was going through them, like Peterbot is the most skilled player in the world all round.
Yeah.
I agree with
and
that.
Has been this year.
If I had to pick somebody for my teammate, it would be Peterbot.
I do have to say, I think there's no chance Peterbot wins this. Vanya's going to win this.
I think Peterbot wins, I can't lie.
No, but what? MA? Jesus, I've seen him.
No,
Bro,
okay, so okay, you have to remember.
open Instagram, and I see him putting it on his story to vote. Like,
Yeah.
come on, they're gonna win.
So for the people who don't know how it works, so for the competitive awards, so for Player of the Year, Trio of the Year, Coach of the Year, all that stuff, 75% of the vote is done by the panelists, like in terms of like the value. So 75% from the panelists and then 25% from community voting, which is to hopefully avoid like popularity contest BS. Because for some of the awards we'll go down to later in community awards, the people who win will just be the most popular people. Like it's just like that is how it is. So I think a lot of the panelists would have voted for Peterbot first, which is why even though there will be a lot of Vanya voters, I think Pete will still probably win this award, is my guess at least.
That's how it worked for my high school student government. I had the highest share of students, and then the teachers got to vote. I had the lowest share of teachers. As a man of the people.
A man of the people. Wow. All right, we're voting for Peterbot here. Ship it. Trio of the Year. The nominees are Tjino, Fredoxie, and Pablo, Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot, Pixie, Marius, Vanya, and Queasy, Swizzy, Mustache. Let's go through this again. How do we feel about the nominees? Is there anyone missing? Do we think it all makes sense? I'll go to you, Teddy. What's your initial temperature reading on the nominees here?
So in the chat for the nomination, I was very, very in on two of these. So the first one I think is obvious, Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache. I think if you win the whole thing, then you deserve to win this, in my opinion. The other one that I really liked, because I wasn't sure that they were going to get rewarded elsewhere, is Tjino, Fredoxie, and Pablo. And it's funny that we have Venno on the call with us right now, because I think what they did to overcome one of the best trios EU has ever seen in Major 2 was a pretty incredible story. So sorry to rub it in there, Venno, but that was the narrative and storyline that resonated most with me this year. Like the three of them coming out of like kind of nowhere, Fredoxie being the quintessential journeyman, overcoming this unbelievably strong team that was coming off a defending champion off spawn, defending a championship off spawn, and then finally putting it together and winning FNCS in Major 3. Like that's pretty amazing storyline. I mean, obviously, Pixie, Vanya, and Marius were the most consistent of the year, so maybe everyone will say it's blasphemous that I didn't that I didn't include them in there. But maybe I'm just like more of a sucker for the storylines, and for like storyline aura, it has to be Queasy's trio and Fredoxie's trio.
Well, what were your thoughts, Kinch, when it comes to the nominees here?
So I'm going to immediately rule out Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache. And that's because if you're going to choose them, then you might as well just call it Global's Winner of the Year. Like,
right.
Because they had a poor year considering they're global champions, right? If in future years there's going to be other global champions, and they're probably not going to have worse years than these guys did in terms of other major results. So if we're going to choose them this time, we might as well just pick the Global's Winner every year. So yeah, I mean, Pixie, Marius, Vanya for me, most consistent across all 4 tournaments, playing together as a trio. I absolutely agree with Teddy that Fredoxie's trio made a great storyline. Really enjoyed following them. They had some great moments. If we went for like, breakthrough trio of the year or people's favorite trio of the year or something like that,
They're definitely not everyone on this call's favorite trio of the year, though. I'll say that.
I'm going to say this is more on like, results based voting, so I'm not going to vote for them personally.
Okay.
Yeah, loved how they played it through the year. And then Coldridge or Peterbot, obviously great results. I mean, we know all about that and the globals. I think Vanya's trio just dips them in terms of results. So,
Mr. Harry, you played against all of these guys throughout the year. The first question I'll ask you, is who instinctively, as you played throughout the year, was the trio you felt was the best. But then, who do you think deserves this award when you take into consideration everything? Because those answers might not be the same.
Okay, the best trio I played against all year was Tjino, Fred, and Pablo. To be honest, like, to be fair, fuck the storyline because they were in reboot round and the brother crashed. Like, that's not a storyline. That's Jesus hates me is what the storyline is. Jesus hates me. I definitely killed someone in my past life.
That's a
But
great
nah, I think
storyline.
they were the hardest team to play against. You know, I was never really worried about Vanya, to be honest. Like that first season where I won, he was first after day one, and I think I was third or second. My words, literally words to my team. Like after day one, I said, guys, like obviously that we didn't play our best today, but like guys, like this is a brand new trio. Like Marius has never really been on a stage like this. Neither really has Pixie. Like going, in my experience, going from first day one into day two is like, Jesus, like that game one the next day. It's like there's a pack of stones on your chest, you know. Like everything really starts it, and I said, guys, they're not gonna win. And like, anyways, I said to them like, the way we play Fortnite, we're playing to disrupt them. Like the same thing applied to like Queasy a bit, only not really during the seasons, but like at globals. Like, actually, was it a seasonal? I can't remember if it was season 3 or globals, but I said like, we ended up going like, if we were on globals, my trio, I think we would have been the ones to kind of stop Queasy's game plan, you know, because he only plays hype from first moving. The same thing applies to Vaniac. I don't play height first moving. I play to take height from second height, and that would have disrupted both of them. And that's why I was never really scared of Vaniac throughout the year. I thought they were a consistent team, but we're always going to meet. There's no chance we don't meet. If you're going to be on high ground and I'm going to be on second height stacks, killing the lobby, I'm always going to find you and meet you. Like, I remember I 1v3'd them one game in Grands. Don't know if you remember. I think it was that first season? I don't remember. But they weren't someone I really ever was too scared about.
It's interesting because going into this conversation, I felt that there was going to be a clear team that everybody was just like, this is the trio of the year. And there wasn't going to be much movement from that.
Like, there's no possible way it's not Vaniac. They were the most consistent by far.
I, unfortunately, am very compelled against this team as a trio of the year. And I think that, like, and this might be the unpopular opinion and people might throw tomatoes on me. I think the clear trio of the year is Tjino, Fredoxie, and Pablo. And the more I think about it, the more I feel compelled to say that they have been the trio of the year. They obviously were not a trio during Major 1, right? They didn't play the whole year together, which hurts them because, you know, there's just less to go off of, right? But I think when you look at what they did play together, it's insane. Obviously, they come second in their first season together out of nowhere while toppling Veno's trio off spawn. Which again is just like they're the reigning champ. Like that whole narrative there is just what a season that was for one. Then there's a lot of people like myself who are going, is this like a one-hit wonder thing? Like you know, they had their season, like is this done with, right? They're even better the next season.
They came back better.
They're even better that season. In a season that was very difficult for, you know, some of the reasons Veno highlighted in terms of just the nature of the meta, where how people search trading, etc., etc. They win that season. They go to globals, where, you know, they're contested, but yet they're like, when they do get to play, they just look like by far and away the best team in the lobby when they actually play out games. And I think what really pushed me over the edge is being at globals after the competition ended, stood in like the player room and just talking to a bunch of players. And, you know, Queasy just won his first global championship, and a lot of people are just going, bloody hell, Tjino, Fred, and Pablo are literally like the best in the lobby. They would have won if they weren't con. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, but then you go and you watch it and you're like, they were stomping that lobby, man. Like they were running about like it was, you know, a trio ranked game at times. And you know, when I look in the past, I remember last year there was a lot of, obviously last year was very easy because it was just Peterbot and Poyo, right? But last year when people were looking at the duos who could win duo of the year, or like in EU, like EU duo of the year and stuff like that, I remember like Vico and Flixie were getting a bunch of props, and they were a team that didn't play the whole year, right? Like, they played Major 2, Major 3, you know, globals, and they were really good, and people were like, hey, that was enough to do it. I think from the moment Tjino, Fredoxie, and Pablo formed, they have just performed at a much more impressive level than Pixie, Marius, and Vanya, even if the results on paper aren't as good, because it's what? Second, first, seventh versus. So for Chino's trio, it's second, first, seventh versus second, first, second. But the second versus the seventh is at globals, where like I was just far more impressed by Tjino, Fred, and Pablo from globals, like what they actually did, you know, in the lobby, than what I saw from Vanya's team. You know, like when Kinch is sending me the stats after day one, and it's like, yeah, like they've taken more damage than they've dealt for Vanya's trio. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that's bloody happened, you know? And I'm like, this isn't moving me as much. Like, congrats, hey, mate, you know, I'm gonna wave the jersey, I'm loving it, you know? But like, Tjino, Fred, and Pablo, to me, was just like, you know, the best team in the lobby based off of how they performed when they got to play games out. Which is, again, it's like the pains of being contested, which we talk about in Fortnite all the time. So that's where I fell on it. And so, you know, I don't know. I don't think it'll be the popular opinion. And I'm happy for people to say I'm wrong, in that the consistency of Pixie, Marius, and Vanya over the course of the year just makes them the trio of the year. Like, I think that's fair. But I feel like the best trio that we've seen, like the team that has showed us the best level of Fortnite this year, was Tjino, Fredoxie, and Pablo. And they did it fairly consistently from when they were formed.
I'm even more simple-minded. I think when I think back to 2025, they'll be the first trio or team that I think about. And that's like my main criteria.
I like the sound of that. you put that in a way I like that, because yeah, that's.
I don't know. I do still think it's Vanyak. Because when I think about best performance of the year, the best performance of the year is Queasy. I don't go to what they were doing off spawn. I mean, afterwards off spawn, con, whatever, but the best performance is they won 5 games in a row or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, close to replicating. I was having my fingers crossed they don't replicate. Holding on for the 6 out of 12, but, like, it's just Vanyak's show. I can't. Doesn't matter like how the year got played, like how the things were played. Like obviously Fred, Pablo, and Tjino, they flipped the switch by keying surge based rather than trading. You know, they couldn't. They struggled to play conventional Fortnite, so they flipped the switch.
Yeah, I think what impressed me as well is that they did it in a way that like we almost. It's weird because we just saw a player of Peterbot's level like all of last year play in a really aggressive way, to where it's like, okay, it's possible for someone to just roll over people, right? But yet, like, you almost didn't expect anyone else to be able to do it, because it's like nobody else is Peterbot, you know? And they were able to play in a way where it's like, yeah, like we're just gonna fight people and we're just gonna win. But yeah, it's a tough call. Where does everyone vote for then? Like who
I have one more question. We've completely ruled out Peterbot's trio, which is fine. Is there any case for or against them that's just worth putting on the record of, you know, the greatest Fortnite podcast there is?
Obviously there were some big moments for their trio as well, you know, landing on Acorn, you know, second first, but there's no globals. But the same thing also goes to Fred's trio. Obviously they don't have that first season, obviously not their fault, but you know, they don't have that first season. But I don't know. I think it just has. I think if we're going completely off stats, it's between Vanyak's trio and Pete's trio. But I think the clear winner is Vanyak. But we're bringing in Aura Farm moments and storylines, and you know, I'm a player. I don't go with these. You know, I don't watch the tournaments.
I mean, but you said it yourself. It's not even just about the Aura. It's like you said yourself. They were the hardest team to face. Like they were the team that gave you the most problems in the lobby.
They lost the most challenge.
Yeah.
They did give us the most challenge.
I think most people in EU would probably say the same. I think most people that ended up running into them in a grand final since they formed would have went, yeah, they were annoying as hell. They killed us, you know?
It's just because like we went up a lot against each other, and they had different ideas.
Mm.
They had unique ideas that we weren't necessarily ready for, you know? And I don't know, yeah, they were definitely the toughest, like I said, but I don't know. When I look at Trio of the Year, it's not Trio of the Year versus Veno, it's Trio of the Year versus everyone. And I have to give
Basing mine on overall results rather than who was impressive but didn't quite get the same results.
Levin
I
and
mean,
I
don't
are
get me
very
wrong, like,
romantic.
We are.
I can tell Levin liked the way I said that. It's not Trio of the Year versus Vano, it's Trio of the Year versus everyone. I can see you liked it because it made a whole lot of sense.
Nah,
that's the title of the short.
I hear it. No, look, ultimately, I don't think voting for Pixie, Maris, and Vanya is wrong because they were they were the trio that over the course of the year was just always there, even when people didn't expect them to be there or hype them up as a team that should be there. They just were always there.
They never made my heart rate jump, but yeah, they were the best. Like, that's the thing. Pablo, Wingu, and them lot, like they made your heart rate jump.
Yeah,
they made your heart have a little flutter.
That's what I need in my trio of the year. You know,
I hear it. But I can't.
So we split 2-2 right now. It's Kinch and Veno are saying Pixie. Me and Teddy are leaning Tjino. Okay. Are you can you be swayed, Teddy? Do you feel like you can be swayed at all?
I mean, I can definitely be swayed. I think that it is really close.
Come to the light side.
It is really close. Again, I'll just think back. Fredoxie's trio was like by far the most interesting of all of these this year.
So we can give that interesting point out. They definitely obviously like the content on EU from a watching perspective, like they were the craziest, and like obviously they were the hardest to come against in my opinion during Major 3, not Major 2, but Major 3. Like that was the toughest thing I had to go into all year. I mean, like my teammates were crying after the tournament. Like it was that was their hardest showdown.
Yeah. They came in defending champion, face of EU, arguably, and they took them out. Like that's pretty crazy.
Look, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm hearing you out, but I can't be swayed. So I just feel too strongly about this. I just can't be swayed. And I will happily die on this hill. So unless Teddy is about to tell me that, for the sake of peace, he's gonna switch over, then we're gonna have to sort this out somehow.
I'll tell you something. And sorry about there's construction on my street. So
I was gonna say, what is happening in Teddy HQ right now?
Yeah, it's so annoying. It's been going on for months. Bro, they gotta get this taken care of.
Bro, Vanya got the M8 shooters outside his house.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah. There's a bunch of the Gentlemates aren't so gentle. They're picketing my house. You know what? I am a romantic. I do value the storylines, the hero's journey, overcoming the greatest challenges. But I think if you look at it, Kinch and Veno bring up a very logical and rational point. It's way less romantic, and way less interesting, which is just, hey, this is the most consistent team of the year on the hardest region. Third, first, third, second, right?
Yeah, third, first, second.
Yeah.
Well, you were second in Major 3.
They came. Which one was it? Oh, I don't know actually.
I think third in Major 1, right?
It was third, first, third.
First.
Vanya's third, first, third. Yeah.
Yeah. Sick. Okay, good. My memory still works. Yeah, I think if you just kind of look at who was the most consistent, I guess, you obviously have to give it to those three, but it's the less interesting vote. But for the sake of peace and for the sake of keeping Veno's medallion intact, I'll go to the dark side.
Okay, that's fine.
To be honest, I thought this segment was going to be done in like 5 minutes. I thought it was a clear answer.
Can you do me a favor, Kinch, after the podcast? Can you make Global's leaderboard based only off of the games where Tjino, Fred, and Pablo don't die off spawn. I just want to see that leaderboard. I just want to see that leaderboard out of curiosity.
Oh,
no,
Hmm.
it's completely separate from anything else. I just want to. I'm just really curious what that leaderboard looks like. But yeah, man. You know what, guys? Hey, M8 win, man. M8 win. M8, I love you guys. They know I love them, so I'm sure they won't take it to heart. They're very rational people. I know that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's fair. They are when they win this award, they will be deserving of this award, in my opinion. Pixie, Marius, and Vanya, because you know they had an amazing year. Breakout Player of the Year. This one was an award that came down to two people for me. Tjino, straight away, just in terms of being a player who excelled on his team. Dimash, as an individual, obviously, the Dimash, I think, had the biggest rise of any individual player in terms of just like where he started going into this year, in terms of how he was rated to where he ended up, is like the biggest jump. I don't think anyone had like a bigger jump. You know, the back end of 2024, he had like under 10k earnings, and like he was being featured in Harry's, you know, up and come of the week segments. You know, it's like this wasn't a player people were was ever gonna be contending in major finals, making it to globals, you know, having great individual performance. Like he had such a big jump. So for me, it was really between those two. Ark had an amazing year as well. And I think when you look at what Ark did at Globals, he deserves a lot of credit for that. And so maybe we'll have listeners from NA who are going, nah, man, you got to be putting more respect on Ark for sort of the year he had. And as much as Dom was obviously on that team with Dimash, I think when you look at the individual, I favored a lot of what I saw from Dimash more than what I saw from Dom. So that's why I lean more towards him. What are the panel's thoughts on this? Where do people lean when it comes to Breakout Player of the Year?
And maybe for the viewers' benefit, because I was confused when I was nominating this award. Okay. This is basically Fortnite's version of Rookie of the Year. However, since some of these players maybe played in, you know, 1 or 2 grands prior to this year, you just have to, you like can't. I wanted to nominate Fredoxie to this, and I was told that I was not allowed.
So the rule was if you can't have played in 3 or more FNCS major finals in your region before this year. So someone like Fred, I think Fred had played 5. You know, there was some other names as well people were mentioning from NA who had played a bunch. So yeah, that's why these people are here, because they hadn't played in more than 3 major finals before this year.
Yeah, so Tjino had played 2 last year. The others haven't played any. So, yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact stat, but like there are obviously not many people at Globals that haven't played an FNCS final before that year. But we have 3 here who were like really impressive in Globals, not just at Globals, you know. So we had some really, really good contenders this year. And even though Tjino came from a slightly elevated background in 2024 compared to the others, he's probably regarded as the best player out of these 4 now. So it's like he started a bit higher and he's ended a bit higher. So it's really, really tough, I think. Ark was crazy at Globals from NAW. Impressed everyone, didn't he?
I think a good way to look at it, like if we actually don't want to look at it in terms of like who had the best year, is who is in the best place going into 2026. Like, who do you think out of these players is going to perform the best?
I mean, the answer there for me would be Tjino.
Tjino. I'm the biggest Tjino lover. Like, it's definitely Tjino. Tjino is the easy pick. I think Ark is probably a close second. But obviously, it's a bit hard to follow these guys because he was playing on West, I think. But Dom and Dimash are a good shout on this list. Like, they're definitely not the Breakout Player of the Year, but they definitely did come from nowhere. Like, I don't remember their name before, like, the first season Pump Power or something. Like, I literally don't remember their name before that.
For me, the way I voted for Tjino for this one, and the way I rationalized it was, if you're looking like NBA terms, right? The other 3 guys, And so if you don't understand the NBA, sorry, this will be useless for you, but hopefully you'll get it. The other three guys were like rookies who, like in their first season, like became all-stars, and like early on in their careers have just become all-stars, and so they get selected to be part of the all-star group, and it's like, wow, these young players are like all-stars. This is great. Whereas Tjino is like a second-year player, someone who was like, you know, fringes of becoming an all-star, someone who like you're like, oh, he'll be an all-star in the future, who then just had like an MVP year, and it's like he's actually. He's beyond what, you know, the all-star level. Like he's someone who now we're like talking about him potentially being like the best in his region. Like that's like the jump from getting to that level. Like it's so rare to get to that level of player that if you were someone eligible for this award and you are at that level of player, then like to me you just have to win this award. Like I look back on when I look back on this award over previous years, a couple things stood out to me. One, I don't think anybody who's been eligible for this award won a major outside or like won a globals or won a FNCS final outside of Cooper when he won this award 2 years ago, and obviously Cooper ended up winning Breakout Player of the Year award because of that. And so it's like, yeah, like if you're eligible for this award and you actually just won an FNCS and you're considered one of the best players in the region now, to me, you're just a winner of this award. So, for me, I just said Tjino.
It's nice and easy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go with that. I don't have a massively strong preference here, so I'm not going to vote against it.
Respect.
Okay, and then one more thing in favor of Tjino. If I'm looking at this correctly, they did the best of all these teams in Game 12 of Globals, which means when you said, "Are you ready?" he was the most ready of anyone.
He was the most ready of anyone. There you go. There you go. Hey, is that our first unanimous? We all four of us.
Sure.
There you go. Shout out Tjino. Hope Tjino wins this award, man. He deserved it. EU Player of the Year. I mean, this, based off of our previous deliberation, this has to go one way. So for the audio listeners, EU Player of the Year, the nominees are Vanya, Swizzy, Queasy. Of course, they were in the Player of the Year nomination. And the person to join them from EU is Pixie.
I just want to say I nominated Venno for this.
Oh, wow. Not deserving, but great. Venno, is Pixie the deserved EU player to join these three for this award?
I mean, I don't know, to be fair. That's tough.
Because when I saw the nominees get released on Twitter, your teammate or former teammate, Vico, was very upset he wasn't a part of this. He felt, I think he should have been a part of this. As someone who played with him all year, one, did you agree? And is there anyone else you think should have been here instead of somebody else? Maybe not even Pixie. Maybe,
I think
what
Queasy should have been taken out and Vico should have been put in. Vico had a very strong Major 1, Major 2, bit of a weak Major 3, and obviously, Global's con. But he was very strong this year. And I think he could have been in the conversation, but I don't think he would have won it, no. He was very, very strong this year, but I don't think he would have won it, no. I think it has to be between... Well, I don't know then, to be fair, actually. I think it would have been him versus Pixie. Because the same conversation goes like Swizzy to Pixie. Swizzy won Globals, but he had a very mid-year. And, for our trio, we had, a good year. First, second, sixth, no drop spot. And then Con at Globals and didn't do very well. Got third pie bunch, all that, right? But we had a good year. Why are you making that face? Love it.
Because I just realized you said between Pixie and Swizzy or something like that. What happened to bloody if I'm Kinch me, I'm bloody pissed off right now because I just did this whole spiel during Player of the Year about why I felt Swizzy should win, and everyone was talking about Vanya and Pete, and now it's time for EU Player of the Year, and you're mentioning Swizzy before you mention Vanya.
Well, I don't know. For me, I'm just picking one from the trio, and I'll just go Pixie. You can say the same thing about Vanyak.
Okay, but who is it? We can't just be, we're just gonna we're just gonna blind pick one of them. Whoever Marius picks, you gotta pick one.
I don't know the
someone.
stats. I'll be real, I don't know the stats, but like I'm guessing Pixie had very good stats, and like it'd be Pixie versus Vico. I think it should be Pixie versus Vico.
For the fourth spot, you mean? Not for the actual award.
No, for the award.
For the award.
Yeah.
Damn.
Neither of them were nominated for player of the year.
That's what I'm saying. So how was Vanya nominated? And this was my whole. This
Okay,
is why
fine.
I couldn't vote.
Okay.
No.
It
Okay,
should be-
but okay,
it
no, but
should be Vanya versus Vico then.
Okay, Venno. Venno. I'm not. This isn't me against you right now. But what you're doing now is why I was so confused. Why everybody was just so obviously like, yeah, Vanya's player of the year. Vanya's player of the year. This is why. If people are wondering why I was like, this can't be so clear cut, it's because of what he just did here. All the conversations people have around the best player in EU all year, it was not as clear cut that Vanya's just been the best all year long, right? The 4 names that actually people have been talking about as being the best player in EU all year, because we have these conversations. We do a podcast where we talk about the game all year. The 4 names that everybody always mentions have been Vico, Pixie, Tjino, and Swizzy. Those are the 4 names everybody's been telling me this year. One of those 4 players is the best player in EU. Then we get to the time to vote on who's the best player in EU, who's the best player of the year, and everyone's going, well, it's obviously Vanya, mate.
Okay,
Nobody said, but he said that the whole year to me. I never heard his name once.
Okay, chill. Okay, I hear it, but when you ask the best player of EU question, like everyone always goes to Fraggers. Obviously, like to me, like there's no difference between Vanya and Pixie. Like if Pixie was there at the previous award instead of Pete, I would have given the same argument. You know, like to me, like I don't know, like we just had one person for their trio, Vanya and Pixie's trio. There was no standout performer. Oh, this guy carried that one. This guy carried this one. There was no standout performer.
I agree with that.
It's just one. Like for me, it's either way. So yeah, okay, we can have the same conversation. Okay, it's Vanyak versus Vika. You know.
I agree with that, which is why I'm with you, and which is why I want to hear who Kinch picked for this award, because I have a feeling we will somewhat agree. The fact to me, because there's not a clear standout from the team, I can't vote for one of them individually as the individual like player of the year. Like to me, that doesn't make sense. Like it's like if you have a team, again to use another basketball reference, if you have 2 teams, right? One team in the Eastern Conference is a 60+ win team, and they've had a great year, right? But all of they share the ball quite evenly. There's like 3 or 4 guys in that team that are the contributor to why this team is the 60+ win team. There's no clear standout on this team versus another team in the Western Conference, and they're maybe a 57 win team, right? So slightly less wins, like they're not as good of a team over the course of the year. But on that 50 win team, there's one guy who has been clearly the best player on the team, and he's like the individual where he's the reason why they're being dragged up to being like a 50-win team. Like when I'm thinking, okay, who's been the MVP this season, I'm gonna look at that guy. Like he's clearly like individually a more of a standout, even though he wasn't on the better team, right? Like it's hard for me to look at that 60-win team and go, okay, this guy now is the MVP.
Let's try to go through each major and point at an MVP. I think that will help along with this. All right, major 1. Who's your MVP? Everyone.
Vico.
I need to pull up all the stats.
I'm like, it's going to be hard for me to remember. I don't want to contradict myself because I'm sure because we do this podcast, I'm sure we talked about who was our MVP after every grand. But I can't remember. But like, let's roughly, if we like try roughly think, I'm pretty sure Vico.
I think it's Vico. Then I'd have to give it to one of Vanyek, Marius, and Pixie.
If I remember correctly, during after Major 2, they literally, the comp awards themselves did a vote, and everybody, I'm pretty sure, voted for Marius after that grant.
Okay, I hear you. Vico
I'll go double check.
Vico had the most Elam's at grants now as well, though.
He did, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, even my brother who doesn't watch Fortnite watched that tournament and was like, Vico is unbelievable. It's like his first time ever watching FNCS.
Then we have to be like, okay, so they won Major 2. Vico came 6th, but he was still, technically the MVP because we go off Elam and stuff like that, but I don't know, So we'll say between Vico and Marius. Then Major 3, Vico didn't play very well, and I guess you'd give it Tjino or something like that,
Yeah, probably one of
And
the
then
people from the
globals
trio.
give it to Swizzy.
Okay, so
in my head, Vico would be the player of the year. Obviously, he's not here, but
oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm looking at the Comp Awards account. This is so interesting. I'm looking at the Comp Awards account. I'm guessing this is just because it's done by vote, but on the Comp Awards account for EU Major 1, the MVP was voted Mustache for EU Major 1. For EU Major 2, the MVP was voted Vanya, right? So he won it for EU Major 2. And I can't see Major 3 here. Major
You
3.
just see Kinch's face being like, democracy is so cringe.
I see Major 3 now. EU Major 3. EU Major 3. They voted Chap. What the fuck?
That's savage. That's Mr. Savage
Plain
fans.
Savage. Yeah.
That's
Hey,
Mr. Savage
You know
fans.
what's so funny? I just scrolled on the post and the first reply is Venno and he said, "Is this real?" This guy said, "This can't be real." Okay, well maybe we can't go off of the Comp Award voting because I don't know.
I don't know. It's when we think back to Mersuch, Mersuch was MVP, but they came fourth season 1.
Yeah, but in that season, they were like the second best team in the lobby because they were conned, remember?
And they were conned.
Bossing them. Yeah, like they had,
And it was really
honestly,
close.
And actually, now that I remember it, Mustache had so many insane endgame moments. Like I remember him having a bunch of like clips from those endgames where he was just like pissing on people. So like I hear the Mustache shout for Major 1. To be fair, I do remember that. Again, these things come back in like memory. It would have been between Mustache and Vico in that one, and I guess people voted.
Vico had most elims, Major 1.
I get it. No, I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just think I don't know.
I feel we're stuck here. We're stuck.
Kinch, we never actually got to hear from Kinch.
Yeah,
Kinch,
okay.
who did you feel like deserved this award?
Well, I voted Swizzy for Player of the Year, so I mean, you can't lose EU Player of the Year if you're Player of the Year.
Right, agreed.
I can't pick Pixie because it's partly because like nobody from their trio massively stands out, like we've mentioned, but also when they trade, he tends to have a very average trading record in terms of like damage ratio, regularly having under 1 damage ratio. Whereas when Swizzy or, for example, Mustache trade, they're always sitting at like 1.4 damage ratios and stuff. They're just like out trading people. I know you might say like, well, trading's dumb and shouldn't be part of the game and all this stuff, but that was the meta. If you're good at trading, then that's great.
The thing with trading is complicated. So like, a lot of the time, what the thing was there's a lot of factors people don't take into trading, and the thing is the stats don't take this in. So the first thing is that, okay, Swizzy had Mythic AR during Major 2. Was it Major 3? I forget. But one of those majors had Mythic AR. And nearly during every major, except Major 1, Vanyak's team had... The amount of heals they had was about... they'd have 20x the other team's heals. So they have to
Can
compensate.
play like that.
Like he's gonna.
Like you're playing the meta, but like I'm not saying Pixie's bad. Like he could be the best fragger in EU, like maybe, but like he wasn't really given a chance to show that because they're just sitting there trading with all their heals.
Yeah, that's an opinion.
So it's a bit hard to declare him Player of the Year, I guess.
That's definitely an opinion I share.
Yeah. Honestly, this award, I think, is the one that was the hardest. And I think if you every year after the awards, sometimes we go back and we look and we're like, did this make sense? Did that make sense? I think this will be the one where, like, if you're going to argue there's things that don't make sense, it'd be here. Because I just think it's what the combination of what you value, the nature of the meta this year, how the results ended up going have just made such a messy wormhole where, like, it's just not as clear cut, even though I think it will end up just going to Vanya. I don't know if that is like the right result, but
I honestly think this one's going to depend on, and then the Gentlemates people are back. This is going to depend on what people voted for before. I'll be completely honest, because I picked Peter as Player of the Year and Fredoxie as Trio of the Year when I voted. I picked Vanya for this one because it just felt wrong to not reward him and his trio for the amazing year that they had.
That's fair.
And then
That's
and
a
then
fair
maybe
perspective.
you'll look at me and be like, you made 3 incorrect choices, and you like each choice like compensated for the other one. But that's how I ended up voting, and I do think other people will have that same rationale as me.
Yeah.
I think we should all get our votes in just to see.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Inches Swizzy, 11, who you going?
I'm gonna go. It's funny, I can't actually remember who I voted for this, because I did vote on this. I can't remember who I voted for. But I'm gonna go Swizzy with Kinch.
Teddy?
Vanya. I voted for Vanya.
I'm going to vote for Vanya as well. But I do have to say, out of everyone on this list, I would have voted for Vico. If Vico was on the list, I would have given Vico EU Player of the Year.
That's fair. W teammate. See, everyone says you've been such a terrible teammate to him, and you screamed at him all year. And look at you showing him love right now. It's crazy, right?
Those TikToks like me hugging
Yeah.
him and shit. You know, I was getting my good. I was getting my.
The one thing about Harry P is he's like a top tier motivator of people, right? He goes right to the heart, right to the soul, and he teases out a player of the year level of performance from a teammate.
He's a good people person, Mr. Venno. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna do the Teddy thing here, and I'm gonna say because I voted for Pete Player of the Year, and I didn't vote for Vanya, Vanya's trio of the year. It feels right to vote for Vanya here for EU Player of the Year. So I'm gonna move and slide with you guys, and we have a 3-1 again, unfortunately, for Mr. Kinch. Yeah, but he's the man with the numbers, so maybe he's right and we're all wrong, you know?
Yeah, I have a feeling that will end up being the case.
Yeah. All
right. Credit to Kinch for standing against all of our, for standing against us and bravely.
We try our best not to be, but yeah, sometimes it just comes out. NA Player of the Year, the nominees are Peterbot, Cold, Ages, and Poyo. This one I think will be a quick one. I'm assuming we're all going to vote for Peterbot, but I do want to say I feel so bad for Ages in particular, because I think the year he's had individually on NA, obviously we won't talk about LAN because I know he doesn't want us to talk about LAN, but the year he had during the NA majors was phenomenal, and he won't be rewarded for it at all.
I also tried to nominate him for Breakout Player of the Year because I just like clearly did not understand the intent of the award.
Just playing 20 grand finals,
but you have to admit, this year he like broke out to another tier of player.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're missing one award. Like in basketball, they have the Rookie of the Year and the Most Improved Player. I think we're missing a Most Improved Player. That would have been a real battle between Fredoxie and Agers in my mind.
I think Agers clearly is, Most Improved Player of the Year. When you look at the fact that last year he made it to globals on a technicality. You know, like obviously he was a good enough player to be at globals, so I'm not gonna fully act like he was just some bum. But to go from like making it to globals on a technicality to being like a top 3 player in your region all year long, having insane MVP level performances during some of those majors, like what a performance!
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Are we on a call right now with the winner of this next year?
For the people who don't get the reference, Venno is moving to NA to play with Cold, and that's why Mr. Teddy is suggesting, will Venno be up for NA Player of the Year next year? Assuming Venno stays the whole year in NA, which I'm skeptical of which he will, or not. Teddy, you made a great point before the podcast started, which I want to give you the credit for this, because I know now this will be a narrative that gets used throughout next year. Venno is going to NA to play with Cold, but what Venno hasn't considered is the fact that Acorn and Bolts will win Major 1, because Acorn wins every Major 1 in NA. So guaranteed, you and Cold ain't winning a big cup, at least until Major 2. Do you stay together with Cold not winning? I don't know if you do. So I don't know if you're going to still be in NA to be player of the year. Maybe you stay in NA though and you switch up and you play with somebody else. You know, maybe something happens and Pete and Poyo do some freaky shit again and you end up playing with one of them or so. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Can I ask another question? If Venno plays 2 majors in NA and 1 in EU, then he wins globals. Let's say Venno wins globals and we'll be rooting for him. What does his globals win qualify him for? NA player of the year or EU player of the year?
Both.
Neither.
That's the real thing. Both.
You have to split the year into 2, and he doesn't get nominated for either. But you can win player of the year, so it's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think. First of all, I win an FNCS every year, except for 2024. But
so not every year.
I've won 2022, 2023, 2025. But I am gonna win one next year, 100%.
Good.
The real question is how many, but I don't know. I think we're gonna win Major 1, or at the very least top 2. You know, I'm a performance guy. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna win this, we're gonna win that. We're gonna give our strongest performance.
Okay.
I mean, Acorn's won Major 1 for the last 3 years, but Cold did win 2 of those with Acorn.
True.
Second last year.
Oh,
So,
But the fact that Acorn
But
but
won
Acorn
this
also
year's one-
won in 2021. So 4 of the last 5.
Four? Like,
Major
Wow.
1?
Yeah, he won the sand tunneling season.
Okay.
Joji.
Oh damn, yeah.
I forget
Damn.
what the names were.
Slacks
No,
and
I
Jack
mean-
was that with? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is.
That was
Yeah,
Venom's
I'm
first
saying-
grand finals, I think.
That
I'm
was
like
my
99%
first
sure.
grand finals as a analyst on the broadcast. Chapter 2, season 5.
Long way since then.
Yeah, long way since then. Yeah, we all agree on P for NA player of the year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need to dilly-dally on that too much. I forgot to mention this. We're not doing the other regions. Sorry. But enjoy voting on these guys. If you are a fan of NA West, if you're a fan of Brazil, if you're a fan of Middle East, OCE, or Asia, you can vote for your player of the year for those regions. Let us know if you all want to, because we have actually a lot of fans from who participate in those regions. If you want to let us know in the comments who deserves to win each of those ones, please do. We'd love to hear it. And maybe we'll give you a shout out on the next ep or during the comp awards as well when we do that episode.
What was the episode we did when the Brazil fans came after us? Was it the preview for the Pro-Am?
Yes, it was. We did the
That went
preview for the
viral
Pro-Am.
in Brazil.
Yeah, and we weren't putting respect on one of the Brazilian brothers, and they were like, we hate your podcast now. And they gave us plenty of abuse. That was great. But shout out to the Brazilians, man. They're passionate. I can't fault passionate people at the end of the day, you know?
Hey, they're
I
not
really
just
can't.
passionate. They also got good results at globals.
True.
They're actually quite good at Fortnite compared to the
No,
other small regions.
Brazilians are very good at Fortnite. Well, I'll give Brazilians their props. And
Can
there
I
are
ask a
some
question?
Brazilians- What's that?
The Brazil region is meant for all of South America. So why don't they call it South America and not Brazil?
I've been wondering the same thing myself since the beginning of Fortnite competitive.
So no one else competes.
Okay, well that's not true.
But King's from Argentina.
The number one Brazilian player is
He's Argentinian.
King, and he's Argentinian.
Does he
It's
live
like-
in Argentina? He doesn't live
I
in
don't know.
Argentina, does he?
I don't know where the brother lives, to be honest with you. But
Anyway,
he spent time living in NA for the past couple of years, hasn't he?
That's
So,
true.
yeah, we probably should get that fixed at some point.
Okay, can I ask another question?
What is
If a Brazil player or any small region player went to a big region and won FNCS on there or top 5'd, would they automatically qualify to be that region's player of the year? Because it's just a more impressive feat, arguably? Or do they have to play all, are we so strict that they have to play all their
what they did
FNCSs?
in the region?
I think it's
Yeah.
just what you did in
You're
the
not-
region. Sure.
Yeah, it has to be what you did in the region. And also, yeah, you're asking questions for somebody's gun because he decides all these things. So, yeah. But no, I
No.
would say it'd have to be based on what you do in the
But I'm kind of polling the audience too, right? People are going to comment. They're going to be really
Yeah.
insightful, Teddy. That's such a good point. Kinch had a take, Harry P had a take, Levin had a take. We're not 100% sure. So really good question to raise, Teddy. And maybe this is something that, can, keep getting better, right? Venno knows you got to keep getting better year over year.
Yeah, but we have a bit of limited time on the show, and so we'll probably save these fantasy questions for another time. All right, we have the next award. We have Broadcast Talent of the Year. That's the one I'm up for, alongside my good friends Jacob PR, Taco, the best Taco, Vivid. Shout out to Vivid for his How is this Vivid's first nomination, by the way? That is insanity to me. But shout out to Vivid for being.
He would have been nominated for 2019 Player of the Year, maybe, had this existed back then.
Actually, yes. Yeah, like Vivid might be. Unfortunately, it didn't exist back then, but had it existed, he would probably be the first ever person to be nominated for a Player of the Year award and Broadcast Talent of the Year award. This one is an interesting one. Obviously, I'm nominated, so I don't. Purely out of cringeness, I don't want anyone to.
You're going to recuse yourself?
Well, no, I don't. Well, no, I don't have a problem talking about how I think about this award. Yeah, I just don't want anyone to like sit here and like be like, yeah, man, I really want to vote for Leatherfoot because that just feels a bit cringe, and I don't want you to like, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be a bit awkward for me. I feel like, you know.
I think it's also awkward for me. You know, I work on the broadcast too.
True. Yeah, you work.
I don't want to start. You know,
and Venno's playing. And Venno's playing, so he doesn't listen to the broadcast.
I've generally got. I can't think of one moment from really anyone, of course, aside from Levin being on the stage and hearing stuff. But I know Jacob had a good year though, like streaming wise.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You know what I will say? I'll say this. I think Boot brought up this point last week, which is an interesting point. He said he voted for Jacob, and he said part of why he voted for Jacob is like, if this award was like most improved broadcast talent of the year, then it's like you've got to give it to one of Jacob or Taco, I'd say, right? I think Jacob and Taco both had great years in terms of like improvement. You know, I think for a while a lot of people had been like, hey man, like we want the commentary to get to this level, and I feel like both of them helped it get to a much better level.
I feel like Jacob's always been pretty good. Dude, chapter 4, Major 1, he goes ice in his veins. It's called Cold for a reason, as Cold solo clutching.
He has been. I think one thing Jacob improved on a lot this year was like when it comes to certain parts of like game knowledge and like analytically being able to give like opinions during his commentary. I feel like he did a much better job of that this year. Similar level of Taco. Vivid,
yeah, agree.
The reason the case I always make for Vivid is like Vivid, if you watch NA, and this is something Kinch can speak to without it being biased and awkward, is like Vivid does a great job of giving very unique perspectives, and being quite like rigorous in like the things he wants to talk about in a way that nobody else does, you know? So I think Vivid deserves a lot of plaudits for that.
Vivid has one of my favorite broadcast moments. Obviously, like I watch every broadcast because I make, in the past I've made Fortnite history videos summarizing past FNCSs, so I watch a lot of the broadcasts. Vivid has one of my favorite moments. He explained something Reverse, Day, and Mero were doing in Chapter 2, Season 6, and he explained it really well. I understood the game much more deeply, and it was like really great. And they should let him cook like that a little bit more, right? Saying, here's a highlight, here's why they're great, here's what they're doing. He was awesome. I did vote for Levin on this one. I will say, just full disclosure.
Yeah, look, I will say this to defend myself. I've seen Jacob and Taco have been promoting themselves and why they believe they should win. If I'm gonna do the same here and tell people why I think they should vote for me, I think yes, a lot of people have had improvement this year. Absolutely, there's been so much improvement. Unfortunately, I've not had much improvement this year, which I'll be very honest about. But unfortunately, that's because I'm the best. No. On a serious note, I think most people will probably vote for me because in voting for me, I think you get the best combination of someone who brings insight at a high level, great entertainment value at a high level, and great hype moments. Memorable calls, hype moments, whatever you want. Like me and Frankie had a bunch of great segments this year that I thought were really funny on EU. Shout out to Frankie. She wasn't nominated for this. Which
Frankie was awesome this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of
I
people
thought everyone.
she should. Everyone had a good year.
I
feel
thought
like
everyone was good. I thought Kelly was really good. She obviously shouted me out on the broadcast specifically. So,
nice. Oh yeah, I
um,
remember that. I remember that. I remember that. I do
yeah.
remember that.
So like that
Maybe,
was awesome. Monster
maybe the
D-Face, like his voice to me, is tied with competitive Fortnite, right? Like I just like when I think about competitive Fortnite, I think about his voice, his casting.
sure. I do
Um,
the same. I was gonna say
so
maybe the reason why everyone had such a great year is because this is the year everyone started working with Kinch, you know. So I mean, like Kinch goes on the broadcast,
Kinch.
and now everyone's having a great year. Maybe
Pretty
this
much
award
just
deserves to go to
yeah.
Kinch.
I'm just
Kinch, I have
feeding the
no
words
zone
into
for Kinch.
their ears.
Yeah, nah, but yeah, I appreciate everyone who's voting for me. I would love to win this award again. So yeah, get your votes in. Venno, who you voting for?
I'm gonna give it to.
We don't care. All right, guys, we're not
Alright.
gonna do this one.
How many times
Coach
have
of
you
the
won,
year.
Levin?
Really?
So everyone,
You're not gonna
everyone
let me
keeps
vote?
saying, no, you can vote, but
I was gonna give it to Taka.
everyone keeps saying like I win this award every year. I won the award the last 2 years, but the 2 years before that I didn't win this award. This award has existed for 4 years now. I've not won every single one. I just won the
3P?
last
You're
two.
going for the 3P?
We'll see if I get it. We'll see. I think I'm gonna guess Jacob wins it this year. I think Jacob's gonna win it.
Jacob's awesome. I love
Yeah,
Jacob.
I think Jacob probably wins it this year. All right. Coach of the year. This one was really hard for me. I really want to hear Venno's perspective on this one. And you have the influence here to sway me, Venno, because I was a bit like I didn't know where this one would go.
I mean, it's just easy, Raz. Like, it's just so easy. But does Blood doesn't even have an FNCS one this year.
Okay. So why is it so easily Raz?
I mean, just dominance. Like, okay, so he had us Major 1, right?
Right.
He had us Major 1. He had Pete second Major 1. I think he had Shark as the other team along with us in EU during Major 1, if I believe so, right? I'm not 100% sure on that. Then on NA, also had... Did he have Acorn's trio Major 1? I think he did as well.
He did, yeah.
And then Major 2... I mean, okay, listen. All that's going to matter is, like, okay, he then had Queasy Major 3, and... What was it? Major? He had a Major 3 and Globals. Like, the resumes far beats everyone on this list. I mean, I don't even know the last brother. Like...
I think he's Brazilian.
I did see that, but I do think like Blood doesn't even have an FNCS win this year. Sven, not really sure who he coached this year. To be fair, I think he coached Richmond Cold for a little bit, but that's about it. I think this is just a slam dunk, Raz.
Sven, I think obviously also had the historic Asian performance with Toyota, where they won like every game of the Grands or something like that.
Don't bring that name up to me.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot it's a bit touchy with a Toyota, right? In my bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of thinking towards EU, but obviously we do have Brazil in there, but I can't really comment on all that.
Does anyone have any strong feelings toward this one?
I think there is one thing to say about Raz, which is the game has definitely evolved in the last 2 years in terms of what wins in FNCS. Like, it's hard for me to think of an FNCS winning team that didn't make a huge, bold, risky play at one point in the tournament and pick that spot really well. And I think most of the teams that have done that successfully, I'm thinking about Peterbot specifically, have been coached by Raz. So I think like that's like an ongoing contribution to the game, leveling up the level of competition, but also improving the entertainment value.
Raz is very good in those moments. I've had similar moments throughout the year, not obviously major winning ones, but he's very good in those moments.
Yeah, I think Raz is going to take this one.
What did you think, though? You said, like, you were a bit, you know?
Yeah, I just didn't, like, for me, it was like, to be fair, I hadn't realized, when you were talking about it there, like, you made it clear that it probably is a clear Raz win. In my head, I forgot that Raz had started working with Queasy at the back end of the year. But I do remember that, and I remember talking to Queasy about that now as well. I just thought Sven had a good year.
We had Cammy and Clicks. Yeah, Raz obviously.
But they also had good years, and
yeah,
they didn't win, but they had, his teams had good years. Cammy had a good globals.
He didn't really have a strong year though.
Clix had it. Clix had his best year ever,
Clix had
probably.
his best year, yeah. Clix almost won an FNTS, you know, he was a chug splash away. So, you know, I think they all had, I think all three, again, it's hard because I can't speak to Diaz, who's obviously coaching over in Brazil, I believe. But I think all three of them had strong years, some stronger than others. And I think Raz obviously having a bunch of the wins just means, you know, he probably deserves it over the other two. But yeah, I thought all of them had good years.
A good point to add, to be fair. Sven did coach Dom Demas. I did forget about that.
Yeah, that was another team he coached. He coached Dom Demas. He obviously was working with, you know, he who shall not be named in Asia, according to Vanya. So yeah, look, I think all three of them had strong years. But yeah, I think Raz probably is. Yeah. Raz probably is the deserving one there.
Kinch, is there? I have one question for Kinch. Is there any interesting data that you've seen, like, and interesting patterns that have shown the importance of a coach? Like, they don't have this coach, they changed their coach season over season, and their stats or analytics changed in a meaningful way. Is there any interesting trends you've seen with that?
Honestly, never studied coaching data because I don't know who coaches who at what time.
Yeah, it's too hard to track.
It's not really logged anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just get lost with who's coached by who. Yeah, nothing there really.
It's quite hard to track. All right, Organization of the Year. Gentlemates, Exet, Dignitas, and Power are the nominees for this one. And I'll open up to the panel. Who's winning this one? I think there is a clear favorite this year, but are they the correct favorite?
Who would you say, Levin?
I think Gentlemates are going to win this award.
I was all in on Gentlemates till I saw that logo.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, mate.
I think, to be honest, like, obviously I'm going to say Exet, you know. I'm contractually bound to say Exet. But, no, I'm joking. I think, yeah, Gentlemates, I mean, big following, you know, that globals thing was obviously massive. But I don't know. I'm trying to think about it in terms of not just that, in terms of content. Because I know Power pumps out good content. Obviously, Exit has as well. Dignitas has started to lock in a bit, you know, and upload some videos as well. I don't know. I think I'm obviously going to go Exit, but I think Power is a sneaky one here that a lot of people don't necessarily know about.
I think it depends a bit on personal impact, like what areas of the community they impact you in. For me personally, like I don't really watch org videos, so their content doesn't really impact me. But, you know, Gentlemates at Globals was a big impact on what I saw on the competitive year. So I would sway towards them. But obviously I can imagine if you enjoy all the YouTube content, then could be someone else.
I got into a big debate with another panelist about this because they were very anti-Gentlemates winning this award when I was very pro-Gentlemates winning this award. And the reason why I think Gentlemates deserve this award clearly is just because when I look for this award, the things that matter to me are impact on the community and, to an extent, like innovation, right? Like when an org is doing something like new and it's meaningful, you know, it's like, oh, they're trying something, like they're trying to change, because the nature of orgs in Fortnite is like away, without getting too much into it. And so it's like, whenever I see an org trying to change that in some meaningful way, I give a lot of value and respect to that. And what Gentlemates did as far as providing content for the community through their viewing parties, like the fact that we got to watch some of the best players in the world throughout the year and watch some of their teams throughout each major, players who we would never get to watch their gameplay otherwise, that is a lot of value. Like that to me is more value than any YouTube videos that other people are making, right? Like that is, like, I actually got to watch the best Fortnite players compete all year long because of their stream. On top of that, the globals experience, like the impact that has, again, there's certain things I can't even say about how impactful that like what Gentlemates provided at globals is, but the fact that they created something that will be remembered forever in Fortnite, right? Like it goes two ways now. Either now it will never be that good again, and we will forever look back at this year as the year Gentlemates just made this LAN in terms of as an experience, or we will now have people chasing to try recreate that, and it actually changes the culture of Fortnite lands. And now moving forward, all Fortnite lands are at least similar to that, where we have crazy atmospheres. Both those things are super impactful and deserve like some sort of reward to me. And so the combination of those two things, don't get me wrong, I don't think they did everything perfectly. Like, they didn't do as much content as I think they could have with some of the players and the storylines they had. Sure, they weren't making as many like funny videos as Exet and Dignitas seem to do, but it's like the combination of actually getting to watch players play because of POV access and what they did at the biggest event of the year. To me, they've been the org of the year. That's just how I weigh it up.
What they did at Globals has had an impact on the future of Comp Fortnite. I can't really go into details about it.
I can't go into
the way
it
they,
as well. But
the way they elevated the LAN has definitely had an impact on what happens over the coming years in Comp Fortnite.
Look,
there's just nothing like that.
Let's just put it like this as well, right? I'm glad I'm not alone here. Sometimes I'm alone on the pod of like not being able to say something I want to say, but Kinch is right here with me. But let me lay it out to you logically, right? To our logical listeners here. After what Gentlemates did and how successful it was as far as like creating, you know, engagement and people talking about it and people being hyped about it. Like, we had the main Fortnite account tweeting clips of just like the crowd. Like, you know, this isn't like a normal thing that happens. If you are Blast or Epic in that situation, what are you now going to try and do more of? Like, you're going to try and replicate that, you know? Like, it's just a natural. Everybody's trying to replicate that. I've spoken to people from some of these other orgs nominated who have told me, I'd love to try and do that in Fortnite at some point. Everybody is trying now to see how they can do that and replicate that in a way that creates value, that creates impact, that creates change in the community. And whether or not like all the Gentlemates fans that are there really care about Fortnite, because that was one of the arguments I've seen made against. I'm like, yeah, like the Gentlemates fans will cheer for like a rock throwing contest if you just tell them the signed players are Gentlemates players.
Though.
Sure, but like that's like so like I don't care, because they did it in Fortnite and it's created value for Fortnite. So yeah,
I think that it's hard. It's what they did was so unique and so amazing that it's really hard to pick anyone else. That's why, you know, I was on your side in that debate with that other panelist. I felt really strongly. I do not want to take away from what these other orgs have done as well, though. Like, Power's always been, you know, a powerhouse. There's the pun for the podcast of content. And I think it's the longest serving Fortnite org on here, like consistent year over year. And you can't forget that. I think what Dignitas has done with pros like Acorn and Kanata, for basically completely different reasons, were pretty low key in terms of content. And I think Kanata, because he was literally not allowed to go on specific platforms, and Acorn maybe because he was a little bit more shy. And now they're like really interesting from a content perspective. Like, I think that that's pretty amazing. And then obviously Clicks, what he did with Xset was like very transformational, very important, very interesting. You know, signed the potential face of EU to the roster. Like, really good, really good. So it's like definitely a golden age somewhat for orgs, but I think what Gentlemates did was so different, so amazing. It's really hard for me to pick. Anyone else. If they literally did nothing else but show up at that LAN in that way, I still would probably pick them, to be completely honest.
Shout out to Power though, because I'm glad you gave Power some love, Venno. You know, because one thing people forget about Power, they've, like you said, Teddy, they've been around for a long time in the scene. They've done a lot in the scene. Everybody was bigging up Clicks earlier this year when he became an icon and he got, you know, the Exit emote in the game and whatnot. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so crazy. People forget, man. Lachlan, he got his org in the game. They had a back bling in the game for years. They've been the OG org in the game. So, now all these orgs were great. I went with Gentlemates. Kinch, I think you are the decider because, you know, obviously Exit.
I vote Gentlemates. They're the most. yeah, Gentlemates had the most personal impact, and I think probably the biggest impact on the game, the ecosystem of the game.
Yeah,
So I'd vote for them.
I'm just on my ones. That's fine.
it's fine, bro. It's
I
fine.
just don't like that logo that was on there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the logo, but shout out to Gentlemates. I should have got my Gentlemates jersey out, mate, but people would then say I'm too biased. On to the community awards now. These community awards will 100% be voted for by you guys, the listeners. So, you know, your vote is just as much as our vote right now. So be sure to get your votes in. And a reminder that you guys can vote every day. So if you vote like today on something, right? Like if you right now decide you want to go vote for Kinch Analytics for Community Support Award, you can do it today and you can do it tomorrow. Like you can just keep voting and every day until the 15th of December. So keep voting, guys. On to the first community award. We have Community Support Award. The nominees are Kinch Analytics, Fortnite Tracker, Evanosaurus, and Assyrian. Now, in the interest of not glazing Kinch too much while he's here and making him feel awkward and uncomfortable. Maybe he actually likes it though. Maybe Kinch wants us to see her and just completely glaze him.
Kinch rocks.
Yeah.
I'm happy to leave call for 5 minutes.
No, like, come on.
It's this one is so weird because I don't even look at it from the perspective of who's best of the community because all of them have such great impact. Like when I look at my year in Fortnite, all 4 of these businesses positively impact me in different ways almost as well. You know, like when you look at, you know, you've won this award, right? Before Kinch? I think you won it last year or maybe
not
the year
last
before.
year, maybe like the first year.
The year before. Like, I feel like you have obviously had such an insane impact on the discourse in the community through stats provided, but then also just like you it's impossible for like a tournament to go by without somebody mentioning Kinch. If I'm tuning in to watch a Fortnite tournament, I'm hearing someone mention Kinch. Do you know what I mean? Like that is like a level of impact that is insane, right? You know, I need to check anything to do with results and placements, I'm on Fortnite Tracker. Do you know what I'm saying? Assyrian, I think, have had like a massive rise this year in terms of like how much people talk about Assyrian and use Assyrian. You know, in terms of just like following competitive and seeing things going on, like tracking certain pieces of data and whatnot. And then Evan, who again, some people might not be able to. It's hard to quantify what Evan does if you're not like in the know and like not close to you know what's going on, but I almost can't quantify. Like Evan makes so much happen for Fortnite and compared to Fortnite throughout the year, and when you're at the lands, that like it's almost unfair that like that because he has such an impact, but people almost just never know it, and so it's hard. And maybe it's our job to try and highlight that better. But what I'm trying to say is, all 4 of these people are, you know, so deserving of recognition for the support they provide to community. Which is why it is really, really difficult at times with this one, I think, for people. Veno, what do you use the most of all these things? What's had the most impact on you?
Okay, what I use the most is obviously Kinch.
Of course. Look at Kinch smiling. Use Coach FNtasia for a 10% discount in Kinch Premium this month. And this month only.
Obviously, I use Kinch the most. Fortnite Tracker, like, that's just a leaderboard, really, I think. Evan, I don't really know anything about what he does, so I'm just going to move past that one. And then Assyrian is by far, like, helpful towards pros. Now, this is a community support award, so I would say Kinch is 100% the winner here. But for me, I use Assyrian the most. Assyrian simplifies voter viewing so much. It saves me so much time like using everything. You know, I've got the most extreme package because I use it quite a lot when I'm voter viewing other teams, stuff like that, and it's a very good platform. But in terms of community support, Kinch is by far the best.
Yeah. Nah.
I just want to mention like something else about Evan. Well, not specifically about him, but like let's not forget, like it's not just Evan that runs Comp Fortnite. Like there's so many people in the Epic competitive team that actually make things happen. Don't get me wrong, Evan's doing tons of good stuff, but yeah, obviously nobody sees much of what Evan does and even less of what everybody else does. So
yeah.
I would almost rather say just like Epic comp team as nominated. I know, like, obviously there's going to be a ton of opinions about, they do this bad, they do this bad, and whatever. Like, the
Yeah, but
community's not always with Epic, but obviously
people
there's a
need
lot of
to,
people working hard there.
yeah, people need to like get over that a little bit. I get it's not always going to be perfect, and you can give feedback, and you can give feedback in a really angry way or a really constructive way, and
Hmm.
it's fine. But what Epic in general does is like a miracle to release a game that's this big with this many creative maps, to have like tournaments basically every single week, multiple tournaments every single week. Like the level of organization at I don't know how many people work there, like multi-thousand person organization to release like a really good product every single time, like one of the best games ever consistently, and run all the different things that they run is like it is, basically a miracle. It's one of I'm in awe of it for sure. It's really hard to operate at that level on anything.
It's funny because I think if this was the year where they did do like a epic comp team as the nominee, right? I low-key do feel it. I feel like the community is way more on side with this is I think the most on side the community has been with the Fortnite comp team ever. But that doesn't say much because, there's been plenty of time where it's been insane levels of abuse. But still, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below whether you think people are happy with Epic or not, generally speaking.
Yeah, let's
Now,
do
but
a
I feel like
W
the
Epic.
the general consensus, I think, has moved in the right direction.
But do you think we have a Kinch census around this one?
I do agree with what Venno said. I think for me, when it came down to who I was determining, it was literally the exact same logic of like, I think from speaking to top pros this year, a lot of them have found so much impact in Assyrian this year that they didn't have in previous years, right? And so there's a lot of value in that at like the top level of competitive Fortnite, how those people are benefiting from it. But then like community wide, like in terms of like the reach, what Kinch does is like I said, like you can't go a tournament without hearing people mentioning Kinch and finding value out of Kinch. So it for me it's between those two, and I'm happy to have a Kinch census here. And it's 2-1 either way. So as much as I will ask you for your opinion, Teddy, it does not matter.
I appreciate all four. I'm voting for Kinch though. Personally, I get the most value out of Kinch.
So's your dog. Oh my god, your dog. I don't think your dog agrees.
Is he agreeing or
I
objecting?
don't think the dog. I don't think the dog's a fan of Kinch.
All
Clearly.
right. Enough glazing. Let's move on.
Oh god. All right. So we have a couple of awards here. We'll run for a couple of these. I don't think we'll do every community award, but we have Creative of the Year. This year the nominees are One Sailor, Nola, Merritt, and Arc D. I actually don't know how to say this name.
Arkadjevich.
Arkadjevich.
That's how I
Well,
would
I'm gonna
say
have to
it.
figure that out before the comp award show. I need to message somebody's gunning me. I don't want to say this guy's name wrong on the live broadcast, so we gotta sort this out. Well, I'm familiar with the first three people. I'm not as familiar with the fourth. So again, initial apologies here. I'm gonna get myself educated. Let us know in the comment section below if you know who this is and can educate us, because
He does artwork of Fortnite players, from what I've seen.
okay.
Sketches as per the profile picture. You can
Oh
see
yes,
various,
that is a sketch of someone, isn't it? Yeah, it is. All right, that's cool. I'm gonna go check out some of this stuff after this. So, Sailor, for the people who don't know, Sailor has been doing a bunch of like music around competitive this year. He's been making like a bunch of songs. I don't know if you've seen any of them, Venno. Have you been in any Sailor songs this year?
It's about the only thing I have seen. I don't know Nola and I don't know Arcad, and I of course know Merits, but yeah, I like the songs. I'm included, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Nola does a bunch of the content work for the competitive Fortnite broadcast and like competitive Fortnite. He's not the only one though, but he does a lot of it. And then he does almost all of Reese's content as well. So if you watch any Reese Hub videos this year, except for like 2 or 3 from when Nola's been on holiday, almost all of Reese Hub's videos, Nola will be in them or behind making them
he might be the goat,
with
then.
Reese. Yeah, I think Nola won this award last year because he is so
He's like,
goated.
he's like a genius of replay cinematography, basically.
Yeah. Nola does
makes
really
all the
great work.
official comp little, 2-minute intros to the season and all this. I think he's involved in most of those. And
yeah. He's involved in a majority of that stuff, and then a majority of resubs content as well. So Nola does a great job. Obviously, a lot of people will be familiar with Merits. That's actually my first time seeing Merits' face. I never had a face to the name, so it's ruined my immersion a bit. Nola Merits used to just be a face I imagined in my head. Now he's like a real guy, handsome guy as well for all the audio listeners listening. Yeah, Merits does a lot of great work. Obviously, he does, works on all of Ozzy's content across the board. He's like Ozzy's right-hand man, and they've had a great year. So all three of them, and then obviously shout out to Arca as well. I'm inclined to vote for Nola because I see the impact Nola has. Nola has done such great stuff, but my heart wants me to vote for Sailor because like those songs that he does are like, I don't know, something about them songs is like kind of cool and fun. So low-key, like I'm like, I just want to, it's different. I like Sailor because it's different and it is very creative what he does. Like sometimes I'm like, how has he managed to weave all these different things into a song? But yeah, I want to know Teddy's thoughts because Teddy's giving me a big smile here. So
yeah, I think I love resubs videos, obviously, and I think he's gonna get some credit for those.
Yeah,
later on would be my guess. Sailor, in a similar case to what I made for Gentlemates, I think what Sailor is doing is like so fun and different that it's hard for me not to pick him, even though, Noller has obviously given us some like amazing content year over year over year. So it's easy to have the instinct to want to reward that. Obviously, Merits is, other than when he times me out in Nazi's chat, obviously Merits is like the GOAT. You just make what's the video jokes a few too many times and you're just timed out,
Probably does get you timed out.
Yeah, I'll go with Sailor because I think it's fun, it's new, it's unique. But I think we picked the right 4 people.
Yeah, it's a good 4. It's very different 4, right?
Yeah.
4 different people.
Kinch,
do you lean anywhere?
This award is there's no way you can objectively pick the best person. They're all so different, right?
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to reward, for me, it's to just reward the diversity of the creative industry of Fortnite. So for that reason, I would not choose Nonna purely because he won it before.
Right.
Not because he's the
not because he's less deserving this year. Yeah. It's just like he's been rewarded for the great work he does.
Let's look at the diversity of the content we've got. So for me, it's either songs or pencil sketches of players. Those are pretty cool things we've not seen a lot before.
Yeah.
But why not go with one of them? They both seem massively talented and producing content for comps. So
I agree.
I don't really have a single pick, but yeah.
He's with us on the Sailor pick, guys. That's what he really means there. That's a unanimous for Sailor.
So, yeah.
That counts as that's a rare unanimous for Sailor there. Shout out to Sailor. We have female content creator of the year and we have male content creator of the year as well. I think we're actually going to leave those 2, but I will say this is full bias from me because he does FNtasia. I want everybody listening to this to go vote for Reese Hub for male content creator of the year. He's up against some absolute giants, quite literally, because Ozzy and Faxi are huge. Clicks less so. But yeah, guys, if you're listening to this, go vote for Reese. Let's get Reese a win on this one.
How tall is Clicks? Just out of curiosity.
Like 5'7". Oh, 10? Damn, I thought it was a bit shorter than that. All right. Grinder of the year, the nominees for this one. We'll do a couple more community ones and then we'll leave the rest up for you guys to have fun with at home because we are running late on time. Grinder of the year, Aussie Antics, Jacob PR, Arc, and Mac FTN have been nominated.
Who's Mac FTN?
This one's an interesting one. Yeah, it's funny. I saw a lot of Brazilian fans being like, how on earth is Mac nominated for this? Which was kind of funny. But yeah, basically, For this award, I think in previous years I voted for Ozzy for this award because of, just how great of a job he's done with you know, providing content for everything. But I think this year I'd probably want to give it to Jacob. I feel like Jacob's, been on the grind. She's been, casting everything, like full casting everything, and really putting a lot of effort there. So I this one I think can go either way, but yeah.
I mean, I want to see a big uptick in the grinding for this award. Ozzy was already at a level where you can hardly grind more after the last few years.
Right, right.
You can't really up it a lot. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to you can't just give it to him every year, or you could.
Yeah.
But
Respect for
it
Ozzy
wouldn't
doing
quite
it
make
with
sense.
a baby though, right? As
Oh,
someone who has
absolutely.
had a kid this year, it's tough to
It's
grind
not
and have a
easy.
kid.
You
Though
know,
to be
Tjino,
fair,
yeah.
to Ozzy, it's like hours worked translates, I think, really clearly into dollars earned. Not to take away the amount of grinding he does because he's amazing and I watch every single thing. But
it's easier to grind when you're, making millions.
Exactly. Exactly.
I am joking. Yeah, nah, I think this award can go either way. But it would be cool to see Jacob win it because I think Jacob's put in a lot of work and obviously doesn't get quite the same return maybe monetarily as the others probably do from that grind.
Give me Jacob
Yeah, I
Pio.
mean, yeah. I saw the big improvement in Jacob's grinding. I can't really speak a lot for Ark and Mac. I don't know how hard they were working on their playing. Obviously, they've seen improvement in results, so we can assume they're working hard. But it's a bit hard for me to comment on.
Then on EU, who's the number one grinder for players?
Yeah, there's not enough EU rep here.
No EU grinder. Oh wait, there I was. Oh, I had one.
Personality of the year.
Personality.
Little participation award. Don't know how I'm there.
Personality
Play
of the year.
Let's do play.
Let's do play of the year. Yeah. Play. I think play. I was just checking to see which ones we could do to wrap it up. Play of the year. Personality of the year is an interesting one. There's Faxity, Peterbot, Blackouts, and Veno. Blackouts from Brazil. He's a big streamer there. Veno. Shout out. You know what, guys? Go vote for Veno for this one. He's not winning it. He isn't. He's got no shot.
What's the answer, 11?
You've got no shot at winning Personality of the Year versus Faxity.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. If I was
Faxity's won this award.
Yeah,
Faxity
but
has won
I
this
think I
award.
come
100%.
second.
Yeah, probably no. Probably not.
Peter does have such a distinctive personality. It's really hard. But Team Veno, we're here for solidarity.
I agree.
Play Veno.
All right, play of the year. This is the last one we'll do to wrap it up. We have 4 plays here. We should
do funny moment of the year though. Can we do funny moment of the year?
There?
I think so. Oh, no, there's no funny moment of the year.
It's not there.
Nothing funny.
Nothing funny happened this year. Play of the year. We have Peterbot Cold Ritual landing on Poyo's trio in Major 3, I believe that was. We have Queasy Swizzy Mustache camp the launchpad at Globals. We have Cold 1v3 in FNCS Grands. I believe that also was Major 3, if I remember correctly.
That's right. No, you're right. Yeah.
And then Donnie's clutch into Qual for Grands. Okay, let's watch these plays because we can actually watch them, can't we? Oh, yes. Look at this. Oh, wow. Wow. Can you guys see? Oh, you guys can't see, can you?
No.
Oh, we're not going to play them. We're not going to play them then.
Everyone close your eyes for one moment and just imagine them all.
Yeah, just imagine you saw the play. Do you guys remember all these plays? Because I do remember all these plays.
I don't know the second one on the fourth one.
You don't know the second one? I guess you were playing Globals. You've not seen it because you were playing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, us nerds,
us nerds watching from the scenes. Yeah. What did you think for this one, Kinch? Veno, I'll send you the link so you can
At the risk of creating a lot of haters, I'm going to rule out the first one. I'll give you my reasoning.
Oh, interesting.
First one was an obvious play to make. So there was no special decision making, I think that was the only thing they should ever have done, and they did it. And then was it a skillful play? That's debatable. It's a 50-50 drop, you could break down every movement and shot that they made, but I don't know whether you'd count it as a fully skillful play either. Whereas numbers 3 and 4, they're skill, right? Massive
Mm,
skill in there. That's why they're player of the year. And number 2 is a decision making of the year kind of play.
right.
So I would just rule out number 1 for that reason. Don't get me wrong, it was a massively hype moment. I guess people could vote for it because they think it was the most hype moment, so therefore it's the player of the year. But yeah, I would choose one of the others. I personally love number 2 just because of the gravity of the moment, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think for me, I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. I think I take into consideration all of those things. So like,
hmm.
even if a play is the obvious play to make, right? Like,
Hmm.
does the gravity of the situation, does how important the stakes are of that moment, how big of a moment that is, like, factors into whether or not for me it's player of the year, even if it is obvious. Because like in the same way, and I know it's a bit of like a weird argument to make to what you're saying because it doesn't apply one for one, but it's like in the same way, like if Cold's in a 1v3, he's gonna, like, the play is to try and kill the guy.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah, if
But
you're
the
down
skill,
three points, if you're down one goal in a World Cup game in the 90th minute, like you should try to shoot it at the net, right?
yeah,
right.
yeah,
But
If you're
obviously
down
it's
3 points
different.
in basketball,
that's
you
where
should
I
try
do mean
to shoot for
the
three.
skill of Cold
The
comes into
skill
that
is
one.
different. Yeah, the
For
skill is
number
where, and
three and four
I
there.
agree. I factor in skill as well, and I think the skill of like how hard was what he did to replicate is also what, like, is very important for me. Which is why I think Peterbot's clutch last year won, and it's like, how many players can you put in that situation and they would have done the same thing, right? Everybody would try and do the same thing because it's not, you got a clutch, you got to do it, but it's like it's not the same. And I do agree with you, like the 50-50 drop. You actually talked me away from the 50-50 from Peterbot, Cold Ritual, and on Poyer's Chill. Because even though that has all the makings of a great moment because of the stakes, etc.,
Hmm.
etc., um, it's not the biggest we've seen. Cough, cough. Someone here has been involved in the biggest off spawn battle we've seen, and yeah, like the nature of the drop and how things went is a bit different. And it was a spot they had been landing at. It's not like it was. It's not like
Yeah.
when like Queasy and Venno did it. It was like
But doesn't
they're
that
just
isn't that
stopping
what
at
makes
someone.
it better though, Levin? Which is they got shit on the whole season, nonstop. They couldn't
Yeah,
win that off spawn. It literally was like, is Peterbot washed? Is it
yeah.
over? Like, is he still dominant?
And then
And
the
then
one they
in the
have to win.
when they have to absolutely have to win it in the biggest moment, all of a sudden Cold's dropping well again. All of a sudden, Peter and Ritual are locked in and they kind of dominated and then they won the whole game. It's like that's a level of execution under pressure. I get that it's like the obvious play to make.
Oh, you've
That
actually
level of
talked me
execution
back.
under pressure after it being so rough for them the whole season is pretty incredible. And everyone will be like, "Oh, Teddy, storyline merchant this, he's getting like
But the storyline does add to
he's
it. That's
getting
a
too
great point.
cinema coded, right? I'm too cinema coded." Um, I do think that you have to include that in. I think the other one that I would just is like Queasy's play um, at Globals is really important because they were losing momentum so rapidly. And I think had they not made that play, they probably would not have won the tournament. And it would have gone down as like one of the great like choke jobs in Fortnite history.
Hmm.
And he took
Mm,
all that pressure and channeled it to like what I would say is a really smart play. And to Kinch's point, like a somewhat counter, like a not perfectly intuitive play, not obvious, just land on them XYZ. Um, it doesn't have like the big explosion of epicness that the Peterbot play had because that's just like very straightforward. They landed, they got right to action, and the Queasy one was a little bit more of a cat and mouse where Queasy was just like, no, we are taking them out this game. We'll follow them around to the end of the map. We just need to, outscore them this game by 10 points or whatever. It doesn't matter where we place. I think it's one of those two for sure.
okay, enough waffling from all three of us who don't play Fortnite. Let's speak to the actual pro player about what
Who
was the
doesn't know
play
them?
of the year. I sent you the link. Did you see it? You
Yeah,
watched the
I
clips
watched
now,
it.
so you've now Venno has now watched all 4 plays. As a player at the highest, as one of the greatest Fortnite players of all time, the face of EU, which of these 4 plays to you was the best play this year from your analytical mind as a player? Hit us with it.
Okay, smartest play, Queasy's play, right? But the play of the year is Pete landing on Poyo's trio. Like, that is just the play of the year. To be honest, like the smartest play was definitely Queasy's one, and it almost went wrong, you know. But the best play was the Pete's play, because you have to get your drops perfectly. I think we need to have biggest sell of the year, because that biggest sell by landing that drop spot is it was so stupid. I've said this already. It's just dumb. Stupid play of the year.
Oh
Landing that spot
gosh.
again. But yeah, I think them landing on them was the best play of the year.
Interesting.
To be honest, honestly, like, the scenes if Pete landed his own POI to try and outsmart them and they dropped there, that, oh my god, that would have been the best thing ever. That's what I think should have happened.
That would have been pretty
and landed
sick.
the other one.
That would have been insane if they both swapped spots. That would have been hilarious for so many different reasons.
Well,
but,
the thing was, Peterbot, they had to take them out at the beginning of the game. Like, they could leave no survivors. The margin was so thin. They had to win the game. I mean, obviously, that doesn't get factored into a play. That's one of the problems with Fortnite and this idea of a play of the year, which it's like maybe it's more of like a game of the year or like a segment in a game, a sequence of a few specific events. Because I think, and
they dropped the exact amount of kills to win.
Yeah, because I was going to say, one
kill,
thing people forget about that game is like, they didn't know they had won, even though they won the game. Like, it wasn't as, like, they had to, like, it was close. Still,
I was watching in the call, and we were all like, you need an 8-kill win, you need an 8-kill win. That's all you need. And then Zone pulls first order, and they still do it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you sold me back. Unfortunately, Kinch gets free wand again. Let us know in the comments below on Spotify and on YouTube. Like, are you more of a Kinch voter? The intellectual individual that stands alone? Or you go with the crowd, like, Harry, Teddy, and I. I keep saying Harry, and that might be confusing people. It's Venno, but his name is Harry on Riverside. It's fine. Don't worry. We love you either way. You are now the most favorite Harry. Well, no, you're just the most favorite Harry on this podcast now, because you're the only Harry that shows up for this podcast anymore.
I've not seen Coach Harry on this in a while.
He's rest in peace. I don't think anyone's playing FM, man. That game stinks this year. Thank you very much for joining us, Venno. It's been good to have you back on.
Wait, can we do funniest moment of the year? How about
we
this?
can't do funniest moment of the year, unfortunately. But okay, bro, this guy is so dumb. This guy, bro.
What I don't know. Mind though, just one that comes to mind, Teddy.
He just did it. He just.
I did it.
Know the reference he's making.
I was making fun of you.
He's making. You didn't even get his
pro
reference.
When Loser Fruit came out.
Your right hand peak when you were trying to get a cheeky look at Loser Fruit.
I was looking at the kids.
Nah, you were looking at Loser
Is that
Fruit.
any better?
I know what kind of man you are.
That sounded a lot worse.
I was looking at the Make-A-Wish kids. I was really happy. I was clapping.
Nah, his better was
Loser
Fruit.
I think the funniest one was obviously LEA though. And Mongrel's like complete inability to help him or console him or anything.
Yeah, I think Allier wins that one. But yeah, look, we will obviously be going through all the winners on FNtasia in 2 weeks now. So not long at all. Appreciate you for hanging out, Venno. It's always good to have you on the show. We're excited to see you in NA. We're excited. We got to get you back on once you're in NA, and talk to you about your time. And yeah, we'll get some like good NA shit talk. Kinch, thank you for joining us once again. Hope to have you on more often.
Yeah.
Can we have you on more often, or Mr. Kinch,
absolutely.
Yeah,
just got to ask.
Just go ask, and we'll get him on. And then of course let us know if you want more Kinch in the comments, and we'll get him on. And Mr. Teddy, our favorite ginger. All the puns. Thank you, good sir. We'll see you guys all next week.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.